The war had been going on for 300 years. Nobody remembered when it started anymore. The Vryn collective swept across the galaxy like a plague, consuming everything in their path. They were creatures made of crystal and light, connected by a single massive mind. They did not negotiate. They did not retreat. They only consumed. Taiwan pulled his scout ship hard to the left as another Vryn energy blast tore through the space where he had been seconds ago. His hands trembled on the controls. He was tired. Everyone was tired. The coalition of free worlds was losing this war, and everyone knew it. Taiwan, fall back to the fleet. Commander Hana's voice crackled through his radio. She sounded as exhausted as he felt. Copy that, Commander, Taiwan replied. His ship limped back toward the coalition's 7th Fleet, trailing sparks and venting atmosphere from a dozen holes in its hull. Behind him, 3 more worlds burned. 3 more species had just been wiped from existence. Back on the command ship, Taiwan found Jihu in the archives again. The old Kelthian never seemed to sleep anymore. His insectoid eyes reflected the glow of ancient data screens as his 6 hands moved across multiple keyboards at once. Still searching through that old junk? Taiwan asked, trying to sound casual. He failed. Jihu looked up, his antennae twitching with something that might have been excitement. It is not junk, young pilot. I have found something. Something important. Taiwan moved closer. On the screens, he saw fragments of data from a ship that had been floating dead in space for thousands of years. The writing was in a language nobody spoke anymore, but the translation software was doing its best. Look at this, Jihu said, pointing at one section. References to a species called humans. The data describes them as warriors of impossible endurance. It says they could run for days without stopping, that they formed emotional bonds with other species instantly, that they refused to accept defeat even when victory was impossible. Taiwan frowned. Sounds like propaganda. Or a children's story. That is what I thought at first, Jihu admitted. His mandibles clicked together in the Kelthian equivalent of a smile. But I have found 17 different sources now, all from different species, all describing the same thing. They speak of humans like they were legends, like they were myths, Taiwan asked. The last reference I found is over 4,000 years old. After that, nothing. It is as if they vanished from the galaxy completely. Taiwan sat down heavily. His body ached from the flight. His species, the Mirren, were not built for extended combat. They were scouts, explorers, not soldiers. But the war had made soldiers of everyone. Why does this matter, Jihu? Even if these humans were real, they are gone now. Dead. Like we will all be dead soon. Jihu's antennae drooped. Perhaps. But look at this. He brought up a star chart. A single point blinked in red, far beyond the edge of known space. Every reference to humans includes coordinates. The same coordinates. A place they called Terra. It is in the exclusion zone. The exclusion zone. Everyone knew about it. A massive region of space that had been declared sterile after some ancient cataclysm. No one went there. Ships that entered the zone never came back. Most people assumed it was just dead space, full of radiation or black holes or other natural hazards. You think they might still be there? Taiwan asked. I think we have nothing left to lose by looking, Jihu replied. That night, Taiwan could not sleep. He kept thinking about what Jihu had said. Humans, warriors who never gave up, beings who could bond with anyone, fight alongside anyone. It sounded too good to be true. It probably was, but Jihu was right about one thing. They had nothing left to lose. The next morning, Taiwan requested a meeting with Commander Hana. She was in the strategic planning room, staring at holographic displays that showed nothing but red. Red meant Vryn territory. There was a lot of red now. The small patches of blue that marked coalition space were shrinking every day. Commander, I need to talk to you about something, Taiwan began. Hana turned to look at him. She was Drayan, a species of reptilian warriors who had been fighting wars since before most other species had discovered fire. Her scales were scarred from 100 battles. Her eyes were hard. Make it quick, pilot. I have 3 colonies requesting evacuation, and only enough ships to save one of them. Taiwan explained what Jihu had found, the references to humans, the coordinates in the exclusion zone, the possibility, however slim, that there might be help out there. Hana listened in silence. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. You understand how desperate this sounds, she finally said. You are asking me to send ships and people on a chase after legends and myths. We need every ship we have to defend what is left of our worlds. I know, Taewon said. But Commander, we are going to lose. You know it, I know it. Everyone knows it. The Vrin are too strong, too numerous. In 6 months, maybe a year, we will all be gone. Every species in the coalition will be nothing but energy for the Vrin to consume. Hana's tail lashed behind her, a sign of agitation in her species. So what are you suggesting? Let me take a small ship. A crew of 5, maybe 6. We will go to these coordinates. If there is nothing there, we lose 1 ship. But if there is something, if these humans are real, then we might have a chance, Hana finished. She turned back to the holographic display. More red was spreading across the map even as they watched. Very well. Take the scout ship Horizon. Pick your crew. You have 48 hours to prepare. After that, you are on your own. I cannot spare any resources for a rescue mission. Understood, Commander. Thank you. Do not thank me yet, Hana said. The exclusion zone kills everyone who enters it. You will probably die out there. But you are right. We are all going to die anyway. At least this way you die trying something other than running away. Taewon saluted and left. His heart was pounding. He was scared. Terrified, actually. But he was also excited. For the first time in years, he felt something other than despair. He felt hope. Jihu was the first person he asked to join the crew. The old Kelthian did not hesitate. I have been waiting for you to ask, Jihu said.
I am too old to be useful in regular combat.
But if we find these humans, they will need someone who can speak to them. Someone who knows the old languages. That is me. They gathered 3 more crew members. All volunteers. All people who had nothing left to lose. All people who were willing to bet their lives on a legend. 2 days later, the Horizon launched. Behind them, the Coalition fought and died. Ahead of them lay the exclusion zone mystery, and perhaps the answer to a question that had haunted the galaxy for 4,000 years. Where did the humans go? And more importantly, could they help save everyone else? The Horizon had been traveling for 3 weeks when they reached the edge of the exclusion zone. Taewon sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the sensor readings that made no sense. The zone should have been empty, dead. But the sensors showed something else entirely. Jihu, are you seeing this? He asked. The old Kelthian was already at his station, all 6 hands moving rapidly across the controls. Yes, the readings are extraordinary. The entire zone is surrounded by a network of satellites. Thousands of them, maybe tens of thousands. They are old but still active. Weapons? One of the other crew members asked nervously. I do not think so, Jihu replied. They appear to be sensor arrays. Watching, recording. Someone built a massive observation network around this entire region of space. Taewon felt his skin prickle. Someone had been watching the galaxy. For thousands of years, someone had been watching. Take us in, he ordered. Slowly, keep all weapons powered down. If something is watching us, I do not want to appear hostile. The Horizon crossed the invisible boundary. Immediately, alarms began screaming throughout the ship. The sensor arrays had detected them. Taewon watched as the satellites powered up, tracking their movement. But they did not fire. They just watched. They traveled deeper into the zone for another 2 days. The sensors showed more and more structures. Not weapons, not defenses, just observation posts, monitoring stations. Someone had turned this entire region of space into a giant surveillance system. Then they found the first planet. Then another. Then dozens more. All of them were inhabited. All of them showed signs of advanced civilization. Cities, industry, agriculture, millions, maybe billions of life forms. This is impossible, one of the crew whispered. The zone was supposed to be dead. It is not dead, Jihu said quietly. It is hidden. Someone wanted the rest of the galaxy to think this place was destroyed, to think it was empty. But it is not. Look at the 3rd planet from that yellow star. That is Terra, that is Earth. Taewon adjusted the view screen. The planet was beautiful, blue and green and white with continents and oceans and clouds. It looked peaceful, alive. Nothing like the dead wasteland they had expected to find. We need to make contact, Taewon said. Send a message on all frequencies. Tell them we come in peace. Tell them we need their help. Before Jihu could respond, new contacts appeared on the sensors. Ships. Dozens of them appearing from nowhere. They had been hiding, using some kind of stealth technology that the Coalition did not possess. The ships were moving fast, surrounding the Horizon in a perfect formation. They are hailing us, Jihu reported. Audio only. Should I answer? Do it, Taewon ordered. A voice came through the speakers. It spoke in the ancient language that Ji-Hoo had been studying, but the translation software worked perfectly. Unknown vessel, you have entered restricted space. Identify yourself and state your purpose. Taewon took a deep breath. My name is Taewon. I am a pilot from the Coalition of Free Worlds. We are searching for a species called humans. Are you them? There was a long pause. Then the voice came back, speaking slowly and carefully. Yes, we are human. How did you find us? Ancient records. Old data files. We found references to your people scattered across the galaxy. We followed the coordinates to this place. Another pause. Then stand by. Do not attempt to leave or power up your weapons. We are sending a ship to escort you. One of the human vessels moved closer. It was larger than the horizon, built with clean lines and smooth curves. It did not look like the angular warships of the Coalition or the crystalline shapes of the Vrin. It looked different. Unique. Follow us, the voice instructed. We are taking you to meet someone who will want to hear your story. The horizon followed the human ship toward Earth. As they got closer, Taewon could see more ships. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They were everywhere, patrolling the space around the planet. All of them were using stealth technology. All of them had been invisible until now. How many ships do they have? Someone whispered. A lot, Ji-Hoo replied. More than the entire Coalition fleet, I think. Maybe more than the Vrin. They were guided to a massive station orbiting Earth. The human ship docked first and the horizon was directed to dock next to it. Taewon and his crew gathered at the airlock, nervous and excited and terrified all at once. The airlock opened. On the other side stood 3 humans. They looked different from any species Taewon had ever seen. They stood upright on 2 legs with 2 arms and 5-fingered hands. Their skin was smooth, their eyes forward-facing like predators. But there was something else about them. Something in the way they moved, the way they looked at him. Intelligence, curiosity, and beneath it all a kind of coiled strength. The human in the middle stepped forward. He wore a uniform marked with symbols Taewon did not recognize. I am Captain Minho Kim of the United Human Space Force. Welcome aboard the Indomitable. He spoke in perfect Coalition standard language, with only a slight accent. This is Dr. Yuna Park, our xenobiologist, and Colonel Daejung Lee, our military advisor. Taewon tried to speak but found his voice stuck in his throat. He was meeting humans, real humans. The myths were real. Yuna smiled gently. You look tired and scared. Please come with us. We have prepared quarters for you and your crew. You can rest, eat, and then we will talk. They were led through the station. Taewon could not stop staring. Humans were everywhere, moving with purpose and efficiency. They nodded at him as he passed. Some smiled. They did not seem hostile or suspicious. They seemed welcoming. The quarters were comfortable. The food, when it arrived, was strange but edible. After his crew had eaten and rested, Minho came to get them. He led them to a conference room where Yuna and Daejung were waiting. Now, Minho said, sitting down across from Taewon, tell us why you came looking for us. Tell us what is happening in the galaxy. So Taewon told them everything. He told them about the Vrin Collective and their 300-year war. He told them about the worlds that had burned and the species that had been wiped out. He told them about how the Coalition was losing, how they would all be dead within a year unless something changed. The humans listened in silence. When Taewon finished, Yuna had tears in her eyes. Daejung looked grim. Minho's face was unreadable. We knew, Minho finally said. We have been watching the war. We have seen what the Vrin have done. Then why did you not help? Taewon asked, unable to keep the anger from his voice. Why did you hide while everyone else died? Minho stood and walked to a window overlooking Earth. 4,000 years ago, humanity made first contact with the galaxy. We were excited, hopeful. We thought we would find friends, allies, partners. Instead, we found endless war. We found species that enslaved each other, conquered each other, destroyed each other for resources and territory and pride. We were horrified. He turned back to face Taewon. We made a choice. We decided to leave, to isolate ourselves. We built the barrier around our space and made everyone think we were destroyed. We watched and waited, hoping that eventually the galaxy would change. That species would learn to cooperate instead of fight. But they did not, Daejung added. The wars continued. And then the Vrin came and everything got worse. So you just watched? Taewon demanded. You let billions die while you stayed safe behind your barrier? Yes, Minho said quietly. And we have been debating whether that was the right choice ever since. But now you are here. You came looking for help. That changes things. Yuna leaned forward. We will help you. But we have a condition. What condition? Taewon asked. After the war is over, if we win, the galaxy must change. No more endless conquests. No more casual extinction of species. We will help you build a new order. One based on cooperation and mutual respect. Do you agree? Taewon thought about Commander Hana. About Jihu. About all the people who were dying while he sat here talking. He thought about his species, the Moran, who might not exist a year from now. Yes, he said. I agree. We all agree. Just please help us, before it is too late. Minho extended his hand. Taewon looked at it confused. Yuna smiled. It is how humans seal agreements, she explained. You clasp hands. Taewon reached out and took Minho's hand. The human's grip was firm and warm. Then we have an agreement, Minho said. We will enter the war. We will fight beside you, and together we will stop the Vrin. The Horizon returned to Coalition space 3 weeks after it had left. Taewon went straight to Commander Hana with recordings, data files, and testimony from the humans themselves. She listened to everything in silence, her scarred face showing no emotion. You are telling me that humans are real, she said when he finished. That they have been hiding for 4,000 years. That they have a fleet larger than ours and have agreed to help us fight the Vrin. Yes. Commander? Taewon replied. And I am supposed to believe this because you brought back some recordings and made friends with them. Commander, I saw their fleet, their technology, their ships. They are real. They can help us. Hana stood and paced the room. Her tail lashed behind her, showing her agitation. The council will never believe this. Half of them think you went crazy out there in the exclusion zone. The other half think you are lying to give people false hope. Then let them meet the humans themselves, Taewon said. Minho promised they would send representatives. 2 days later, a human ship arrived at the Coalition's main headquarters. It appeared without warning, its stealth systems disengaging right in the middle of the fleet. Panic spread immediately. Ships powered up weapons. Alarms sounded. But the human vessel just sat there, broadcasting a simple message on repeat. We come in peace. We are here to help. The Coalition Council agreed to meet with the human representatives. Admiral Sujin Choi came aboard with her staff, including General Kyung-ho Nam and Engineer Young-mi Han. They were professional, polite, and absolutely serious. We understand your skepticism, Sujin said to the assembled council. We have been hidden for a long time, but the situation has become too dire to continue watching. The Vrin will exterminate all life in the galaxy if they are not stopped. We cannot allow that to happen. One of the council members, a Phaethian with blue feathers and sharp eyes, spoke up. Why should we trust you? Why should we believe you will not turn on us once the Vrin are defeated? Because that is not who we are, Kyung-ho replied. Humans do not build empires. We build partnerships. We do not conquer. We cooperate. If you want proof, we will give it to you. Send ships with us to the next battle. Watch how we fight. See for yourselves. The council debated for hours. Finally, Commander Hana stood and spoke. I say we accept their help. What do we have to lose? We are already dying. If the humans betray us, we die a little faster. If they truly help us, we might survive. I vote yes. Enough council members agreed. The decision was made. Humanity would join the war. 3 days later, the Vrin attacked a coalition mining colony in the Kelvar system. It was a small outpost, barely defended. Standard Vrin tactics were to overwhelm it with numbers and consume everything within hours. The coalition sent what ships they could spare, but everyone knew it would not be enough. Then the Indomitable arrived. Minho's ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel right in the middle of the battle. Taewon was there, flying escort for one of the transports. He watched in amazement as the human vessel moved through space with impossible precision. The Indomitable did not have energy shields like coalition ships. It did not use plasma weapons or ion cannons. Instead, it fired projectiles. Solid chunks of metal moving at incredible speeds. The impacts tore through Vrin ships like paper. All coalition vessels, this is Captain Minho of the Indomitable. His voice came through the radio. We are engaging the enemy. Recommend you fall back to safe distance and protect the civilians. Captain, there are 20 Vrin ships and only one of you. Hana's voice replied. She was commanding the operation from her flagship. You need to retreat. Respectfully, Commander, we do not retreat. Just watch. What happened next would be talked about for years. The Indomitable charged straight into the Vrin formation. Its weapons fired constantly, never stopping. When Vrin energy blast hit its hull, armor plating ablated away, but the ship kept coming. It took damage that would have crippled any coalition vessel, but it kept fighting. Then something even stranger happened. The Indomitable launched pods, small craft that flew toward the Vrin ships and attached to their hulls. Taewon realized with horror what he was seeing. They are boarding the Vrin ships, he said aloud. The humans are boarding them. It should have been impossible. Vrin ships were filled with radiation and toxic atmosphere. The creatures themselves were made of crystal that could slice through metal. No species had ever successfully boarded a Vrin vessel, but the humans did it. They cut through the hulls and entered the ships. They fought the Vrin in close combat, using weapons that seemed primitive compared to energy rifles, kinetic firearms, explosive charges, blades, and they won. One by one, the Vrin ships went dark. The human boarding parties destroyed their power cores from the inside. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was over, the Indomitable had destroyed 12 Vrin vessels and disabled 8 more. The remaining Vrin ships retreated, something they almost never did, but the cost was visible. The Indomitable looked like it had flown through a storm of razors. Its hull was scarred and dented. Entire sections were exposed to space. Yet it was still functional, still broadcasting. Mining colony is secure, Minho reported. His voice sounded tired but satisfied. No civilian casualties. We lost 4 crew members in the boarding actions. Requesting permission to dock at your station for repairs. Hana granted permission immediately. When Minho came aboard her flagship, she looked at him with something like awe. I have never seen anyone fight like that, she said. Your ship should have been destroyed. Your crew should have died. How did you survive? Minho smiled, but it was a sad smile. Humans are stubborn, Commander. We refuse to accept that something is impossible until we have tried it. And even then, we try again. It is both our greatest strength and our greatest weakness. Your crew, Hana said quietly. The ones who died. I'm sorry. They died protecting innocent people, Minho replied. There is no better death. We will remember them, and we will keep fighting. News of the battle spread through the coalition like wildfire. Recordings of the Indomitable's fight played on every screen in every ship. Soldiers who had been losing hope suddenly found their courage again. The myths were real. The legends were true. Humanity had entered the war. Jihu watched the recordings in his archive chamber, his old eyes flickering with emotion. He started compiling a new file, a new historical record. He titled it The Return of Humanity. In the file he wrote, For 300 years we fought alone. We lost hope. We forgot what it meant to have allies who would stand beside us no matter the cost. But today we remembered. Today the humans showed us what true courage looks like. They do not fight for territory. They do not fight for resources. They fight because it is the right thing to do, because life is worth protecting, because surrender is not in their nature. Back on Earth, the United Human Space Force mobilized in full. Admiral Sujin gathered her fleet. General Kyung-ho prepared ground forces. Engineer Youngmi worked on new weapons, new ships, new ways to hurt the Vrin. They knew the fight ahead would be terrible. They knew many of them would die, but they also knew they could not stand by any longer. The galaxy needed help. And humans, whatever their flaws, had never been good at ignoring people who needed help. In orbit around Earth, thousands of ships prepared to launch. Each one carried crews who had volunteered, who had chosen to risk their lives for species they had never met. They did not do it for glory or reward. They did it because it was right. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Minho looked at his crew. They were exhausted, injured, grieving their lost friends, but they were also determined. Repair crews estimate we will be ready to fight again in 48 hours, his first officer reported. Good, Minho said. The Vrin will not wait, and neither will we. Humanity has returned to the stars. Let us remind the galaxy what that means. And across coalition space, on 1,000 different worlds, people looked up at the stars with hope for the first time in years. Help had arrived. The war was not over, but maybe, just maybe, they could win. 6 months after humanity entered the war, everything had changed. The Vrin advance had stopped. For the first time in 3 centuries, they were not winning. They were not losing either, but they were no longer unstoppable, and that small change made all the difference. Taewon flew his new ship through the debris field of what had once been a Vrin staging area. Human ships had hit it 3 days ago, destroying everything in a coordinated strike that the Vrin never saw coming. He was still amazed by how humans fought. They did not follow standard tactics. They did not do what was expected. They improvised, adapted, and turned every situation to their advantage. "Taewon, we have movement on the surface." A voice crackled through his radio. It was Commander Yoonji Bae, leading a human ground force on the planet below. "Vrin drones are trying to regroup. We are moving to intercept." "Be careful down there," Taewon replied. He had learned to care about these humans. They were so different from any species he had known, but they had become his friends. His pack, as they would say. "Careful is not in our vocabulary," Yoonji replied with a laugh. Then her tone became serious. "Actually, we could use air support. There are more drones than we expected." "On my way," Taewon said, directing his ship toward the coordinates she had sent. He arrived to see human soldiers fighting Vrin drones in close combat. It was chaos. The drones were twice the size of humans, made of crystalline material that could cut through armor. But the humans were not backing down. They used explosives, plasma cutters, and even physical strength to tear the drones apart. Yoonji was in the middle of it all, her armor covered in crystal dust and scorch marks. She moved with practiced efficiency, directing her troops while fighting herself. When a drone tried to flank her position, she threw an explosive charge with perfect accuracy. The drone exploded in a shower of crystal fragments. Taewon provided cover fire from above, his ship's weapons taking out drones that were too far for the ground troops to reach. Within an hour, the battle was over. The Vrin had been pushed back again. Later, on the transport ship heading back to the fleet, Yoonji sat next to Taewon. She was cleaning her weapons, her movements automatic and tired. "You fought well today," Taewon said. "We did what needed to be done," Yoonji replied. She looked at him with her dark human eyes. "You know, when we first decided to enter this war, I was scared. Not of dying. I made peace with that possibility a long time ago. I was scared that we would not be enough, that even with our help the galaxy would still fall. And now?" Taewon asked. "Now I think we might actually win this," she said with a tired smile. "We are making a difference. The coalition troops are learning from us. They are fighting smarter, harder, and we are learning from them too. Their technology, their tactics, together we are stronger than either of us would be alone." Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Human ships fought alongside coalition vessels in 100 different battles. Human soldiers served with alien troops on countless worlds. And slowly, relationships formed. Friendships, trust. Captain Jae-sung-oh became famous for his fighter tactics. He flew missions that other pilots called suicide runs and came back every time. He taught coalition pilots his techniques, sharing knowledge freely. Some called him reckless. He called himself optimistic. "The trick is not to think about the odds," he explained to a group of young Moran pilots who wanted to learn from him. "The moment you start thinking about how likely you are to die, you have already lost. Focus on the mission. Focus on your squad. Trust your training and your instincts. The rest will work itself out." One of the young pilots raised a tentacle nervously. "But Captain O, how do you deal with the fear?" Jae-sung smiled. "I do not deal with it, I use it. Fear keeps you sharp. Fear keeps you alive. Never let anyone tell you that being scared makes you weak. It makes you smart." On the science vessels, Dr. Bora Shin worked day and night on a weapon that could hurt the Vrin in a new way. The problem with the Vrin was their hive mind. Kill one and the others adapted. Destroy one ship and the rest learned from it. They shared information instantly across their entire collective. But Bora realized that could also be their weakness. If you could disrupt their communication, you could cause chaos throughout their entire network. She developed a virus, a digital weapon that attacked the Vrin's shared consciousness. It did not kill them, but it confused them, made them unable to coordinate. "It is like giving them a migraine," she explained to Ji-hoo, who had become her friend and research partner. "A really, really bad one. They can still function individually, but they cannot work together effectively." "How long will it take to deploy?" Ji-hoo asked. "It is ready now," Bora replied. "We just need the right opportunity to use it." That opportunity came sooner than expected. The Vrin launched a massive assault on the industrial world of Kethris. It was one of the coalition's most important manufacturing centers. Lose it and the war effort would be crippled. Admiral Su Jin commanded the defense. Her fleet consisted of 200 human ships and 300 coalition vessels. Facing them were over 1,000 Vrin ships. The odds were terrible, but Su Jin had never let odds dictate her actions. All ships, this is Admiral Choi, she broadcast on the open channel. Today we stand between the Vrin and 3 billion innocent people. We stand between destruction and hope. We will not fall back. We will not surrender. We will fight and we will win. For the coalition, for humanity, for everyone who cannot fight for themselves. The battle began. It was brutal and chaotic. Ships exploded on both sides. The space around Kethris became a graveyard of metal and crystal. But the coalition held. Human ships took damage that should have destroyed them and kept fighting. Coalition vessels learned to use human tactics, becoming unpredictable and aggressive. In the middle of the battle, Bora deployed her virus. A single missile, fired from a human ship, penetrated deep into the Vrin formation before exploding. The explosion was small, barely noticeable, but the effect was immediate. The Vrin ship stopped moving in perfect coordination. They began making mistakes, flying into each other, firing at empty space. The hive mind was disrupted, and suddenly 1,000 ships became 1,000 individuals, all confused and unable to work together. Now, Su Jin shouted, all ships full attack! Do not give them time to recover. The coalition forces pressed their advantage. With the Vrin in disarray, the battle turned quickly. Within hours, the Vrin were retreating, leaving behind hundreds of destroyed ships. Kethris was saved, but the victory came at a cost. Over 100 coalition ships were destroyed. 40 human vessels would never return home. Among the casualties was a human medic named Su Jin Lim. She had been on a transport ship that was hit by Vrin fire. As the ship was evacuated, she stayed behind to help a Moran child who was trapped in the wreckage. She got the child out, but the ship exploded before she could escape. The funeral was held on a coalition station. Thousands attended, from dozens of different species. Humans and aliens stood together, mourning a woman most of them had never met. But they all knew what she represented: sacrifice, courage, the willingness to die so that others could live. Commander Hana spoke at the funeral. I did not know Su Jin personally, she said, her voice carrying across the silent crowd. But I know what she did. She gave her life for a child of another species, a child she had no obligation to save. She did it because it was right, because life mattered to her more than her own survival. She paused, looking at the assembled crowd. This is what we fight for. This is why we will win. Because we have allies who would die for our children. Because we have found something stronger than any weapon. We have found unity, and the Vrin cannot understand that. They cannot fight it. Together we are unstoppable. The crowd was silent for a long moment. Then slowly they began to salute. Humans and aliens alike, all showing respect in their own ways. For Su Jin, for all the fallen, for the idea that different species could become one people. After the funeral, Taiwan found Minho standing alone, looking out at the stars. We are winning, Taiwan said quietly. But the cost is high. It always is, Minho replied. But we knew that when we entered the war. We knew people would die. That is the nature of war. All we can do is make sure their deaths mean something. The Vrin are weakening, Taiwan said. Your virus worked. They are vulnerable now. They are learning, Minho cautioned. They always do. But yes, we hurt them badly. For the first time, they are scared. They are realizing they might actually lose. What happens when they get desperate? Taiwan asked. Minho turned to look at him, his face serious. That is when the real war begins. The Vrin made their move 3 months later. They had been quiet, retreating from battles, avoiding confrontation. Everyone thought they were weakening. Everyone was wrong. The warning came from one of the observation posts near the edge of human space. A massive Vrin fleet had appeared, the largest anyone had ever seen. Thousands of ships, maybe tens of thousands. They were not heading toward coalition space. They were heading straight for Earth. They are going for humanity's homeworld, Jihu said, his antennae trembling as he read the reports. They are trying to cut off the head of the snake. Admiral Su Jin immediately issued a recall. Every human ship, no matter where it was, needed to return to Earth. The coalition responded too. Commander Hana gathered every vessel she could spare. If Earth falls, we all fall. she said to the Coalition Council. The humans saved us. Now we save them. Within days, the largest fleet in galactic history assembled around the Sol system. Human ships and Coalition vessels by the thousands, all preparing for the battle that would decide everything. Taewon piloted his ship into position near the Indomitable. Minho's vessel had been repaired and upgraded after countless battles. It looked scarred but dangerous, like a warrior who had fought too many wars but refused to quit. Good to see you, Taewon. Minho's voice came through the radio. Glad you could make it to our homecoming party. I would not miss it, Taewon replied. Besides, you humans taught me something important. You stand by your pack no matter what. That we do, Minho said. Then his tone became serious. Listen, if things go badly today, if we lose, I want you to know something. Meeting you, fighting beside you and your people, it has been an honor. You reminded us why we came back, why we stopped hiding. We are not going to lose, Taewon said firmly. Not today. The Vrin fleet arrived like a storm. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, their crystalline ships reflecting the light of Earth's sun. There were so many of them that they blocked out the stars. The sensor systems could not even count them all accurately. All ships, this is Admiral Choi. Sujin's voice came through on all channels. Today we fight for our home. We fight for every person on the planet below. We fight for the future of all free species in this galaxy. The Vrin think they can scare us with numbers. They think we will break. They are wrong. Humans do not break, and neither do our allies. All ships engage the enemy. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. The battle began. It was chaos from the first moment. Ships on both sides fired everything they had. Space filled with weapons fire, explosions, and debris. The Coalition forces fought with everything they had learned from the humans. They were aggressive, unpredictable, and absolutely refused to surrender. Taewon flew through the madness, his ship dancing between Vrin vessels. He had become a good pilot over the past year, learning from the humans. He used their tactics, their courage. When a Vrin ship targeted a damaged Coalition vessel, Taewon put his own ship in the way, taking the hit. His shields collapsed, but the other ship survived. Taewon, fall back, someone shouted on the radio. No, he replied, firing his weapons at the Vrin ship. We hold the line. No matter what. On the surface of Earth, billions of humans watched the battle through screens and telescopes. They saw their defenders fighting and dying in the void above. They saw alien ships, species they had never met, standing between them and destruction. In orbit, Commander Hana's flagship took a direct hit. The bridge exploded, killing half her crew. Emergency systems kicked in, but the ship was crippled. A Vrin vessel moved in for the kill. Then the Indomitable was there. Minho's ship rammed the Vrin vessel, sacrificing its own hull integrity to save Hana. Both ships careened away from each other, damaged but still fighting. Why did you do that? Hana demanded over the radio, her voice raw. Because you are pack, Minho replied simply. We protect our pack. The battle raged for hours. Ships fell on both sides. The void around Earth became a graveyard. But the Coalition held. They did not break. They did not run. Then the Vrin changed tactics. A group of their ships broke away from the main battle and headed straight for Earth, trying to bypass the defenders and attack the planet directly. Someone stopped them, Sujin shouted. Captain Jae-sung and his fighter squadron were closest. 50 small ships against 200 Vrin vessels. The odds were impossible. We are on it, Jae-sung said calmly. Then he switched to his squadron's private channel. All right, everyone. This is going to be difficult, but we trained for this. We know what to do. Follow me in, for Earth, for the Coalition, for everyone we have ever loved. The fighters dove toward the Vrin ships. They used every trick they knew, every tactic they had learned. They flew between the larger vessels, using the Vrin's size against them. They targeted weak points, power cores, communication arrays. It was not enough. The Vrin were getting through. On Earth, in a secret facility beneath the mountains, Dr. Chan Young-kwan activated his final project. Project Prometheus. It was humanity's last resort, a weapon they had hoped never to use. Swarms of nanomachines erupted from launch sites across the planet. Billions of microscopic robots, each one programmed with one purpose: adapt and destroy. They flew into space, meeting the Vrin ships head-on. The nanomachines attacked the Vrin vessels, eating through their crystalline hulls. The Vrin tried to fight back, but the machines adapted to every defense. When the Vrin used energy weapons, the machines developed resistance. When they used physical barriers, the machines found ways through. It was evolution at impossible speed, guided by human ingenuity and desperation. What is happening? A Vrin ship broadcast, its hive mind voice filled with something that sounded like fear. What are these things? They are humanity's answer, Chan Young said quietly from his control center, watching the data streams. They are what happens when you threaten our home. The nanomachine swarm spread through the Vrin fleet. Combined with Bora's virus, which human ships were deploying throughout the battle, the Vrin hive mind began to fragment. Ships stopped coordinating. They made mistakes. They began to retreat, but the battle was far from over. The Vrin still had numbers. They still had power. The fighting continued, desperate and brutal. Jihu, on a coalition command ship, found himself at a weapons station when the crew member who normally operated it was injured. The old Kelthian had not fired a weapon in decades, but he remembered how. "For everyone who has fallen," he said, targeting a Vrin ship with perfect precision. "For everyone who will never go home. For the future we are trying to build," he fired. The shot hit its mark. One small victory in a battle of thousands. On the Indomitable, Minho stood on his damaged bridge, blood running down his face from a wound he barely noticed. Half his crew was dead. His ship was falling apart around him, but he was still fighting. "All human vessels, this is Captain Kim," he broadcast. "I know we are tired. I know we are hurt. But look around you. Look at our allies. They came to defend our home. They are dying for us. We owe them everything. So we fight. We fight until we can't anymore. And then we fight some more. Because that is what humans do. We never give up." Across the fleet, human ships responded. They were damaged, crippled, barely functional, but they kept fighting, and beside them, coalition vessels did the same. Together, they held the line. The Vrin were breaking. The hive mind was fragmenting completely. Ships began to flee, abandoning the battle. Others fought on, but without coordination. Without their greatest strength, they were just another species, and they were facing an alliance that had learned to fight as one. When the last Vrin ship jumped to faster-than-light speed and fled, a strange silence fell over the battlefield. For a moment, no one spoke. No one moved. They could not believe it was over. Then cheering erupted on every ship, humans and aliens alike celebrating victory, celebrating survival. Taewon sat in his damaged ship, tears running down his face.
He had survived.
They had survived. Earth was safe. The galaxy was safe. "We won," he whispered. "We actually won." The aftermath was long and difficult. The casualties were counted in the millions. Entire fleets had been destroyed. But they had won. The Vrin collective was broken, scattered. No longer the unstoppable force they had been. 3 months after the Battle of Sol, representatives from every coalition species gathered on Earth. It was the first time most aliens had set foot on humanity's homeworld. They were there to sign a treaty, to create the new galactic order that had been promised. Admiral Su Jin stood before the assembled delegates. She looked tired but satisfied. "We did not fight this war to rule you," she said. "We fought because it was right, because life is worth protecting, because we believe that different species can work together, can build something better than what came before." She gestured to the document before them. "This treaty establishes the Galactic Council. Every species has an equal voice. Decisions are made together. We share resources, technology, and defense. No more empires. No more conquests, just cooperation one by one," the delegates signed. When it was done, Taewon turned to Minho, who was standing beside him. "Is this what you hoped for?" Taewon asked. "When you decided to help us?" "It is better," Minho replied. "I hoped we could stop the war, but we did more than that. We built something new, something worth fighting for.